The Johnson residence, a sprawling estate nestled in a tree-lined, exclusive neighborhood, hummed with an understated elegance. Yet, it was the vibrant energy of sports, rather than quiet luxury, that truly defined its soul. Framed jerseys, gleaming trophies, and candid photos from countless sporting events adorned the walls, each telling a story of triumph and dedication. For Amara and Nia Johnson, identical 17-year-old black twin sisters, this home was their sanctuary and their training ground. Amara, with her sharp, analytical mind, was the slightly more outspoken of the two, her thoughts often racing ahead, dissecting strategies. Nia, more reserved and observant, possessed a profound empathy, her quiet nature complementing Amara's intensity. Both were exceptionally poised and intelligent, sharing an almost telepathic bond forged through years of shared dreams and unspoken understanding. Their unwavering passion for basketball, instilled by their father, was the bedrock of their connection. Their meticulous planning extended beyond the court. They were always prepared, always a step ahead. Despite their family's significant wealth and their privileged access to elite circles, they carried a subtle, almost imperceptible awareness. They often encountered microaggressions, fleeting assumptions based on their race, forcing them to always be on guard, a quiet inner conflict that belied their outward composure. Their shared room was a testament to their blended passions. Basketball playbooks, meticulously annotated, lay open next to the latest fashion magazines. A large flat-screen TV, perpetually tuned to a sports channel, silently broadcast highlights and analyses. A meticulously organized collection of game tickets, signed memorabilia, and their own childhood trophies filled a dedicated shelf. But their most prized possession was a signed basketball, its leather worn smooth from countless passes, autographed by a legendary player. It was a cherished gift from their father, Mr. Johnson, Marcus Johnson, symbolizing not just their shared passion for the game, but also his profound legacy within it. Mr. Johnson himself was a towering figure, calm and authoritative, yet deeply warm and supportive. He often spent hours discussing complex game strategies with his daughters, valuing their sharp analytical insights, treating them as intellectual equals rather than mere children. His precise role in the professional sports world, the owner of a major professional basketball team, a prominent league executive, was subtly hinted at rather than overtly declared. Frequent high-level phone calls with other team owners or league officials punctuated his days. His name occasionally surfaced in hushed tones on sports news channels, and high-security documents with official league letterheads sometimes appeared on his desk. He instilled in his daughters not just a love for the game, but an unwavering commitment to integrity, respect, and fairness, principles that would soon be tested. One frenetic afternoon, the organized chaos of the Johnson home reached a crescendo as Mr. Johnson and the team's general manager, a harried man named David, grappled with a particularly thorny problem: a complex draft pick analysis. They were huddled over a sprawling whiteboard, surrounded by intricate statistics and salary cap figures, their brows furrowed in visible stress. The upcoming draft was crucial, and every decision carried immense weight. Amara and Nia, having spent countless hours meticulously following the season, analyzing player data, and running their own simulations, quietly approached. They'd been listening, their keen minds already processing the information. "Dad," Amara began, her voice calm, "have you considered the impact of a conditional pick swap in the third round, contingent on the player's shooting percentage? It could free up cap space for a veteran wing." Nia, ever observant, added, "And statistically, Player X's defensive rating against top-tier guards suggests he's undervalued in this draft, making him a perfect fit for our current roster needs, even if his offensive numbers aren't flashy." Mr. Johnson and David paused, stunned. They looked at each other, then back at the twins, their faces transforming from stress to genuine surprise and immense gratitude. "That's brilliant!" David exclaimed, grabbing a marker and scribbling their suggestions onto the board. Mr. Johnson beamed, pulling his daughters into a quick, proud hug. "That's why I always bring my secret weapons," he chuckled, his eyes shining with fatherly pride. This small, effortless act, showcasing their quiet competence and deep understanding of the sport, instantly made Amara and Nia deeply sympathetic and admirable characters, solidifying their save the cat moment. Tucked discreetly into a specialized slot in each twin's sleek wallet was a seemingly anonymous obsidian black VIP pass. It was far more than a regular season ticket. Issued personally by their father, it granted unparalleled, unspoken privileges: direct access to the owner's luxury boxes, entry to restricted backstage areas, and open communication lines with stadium management. It was their literal all-access pass to the inner sanctum of the league, a symbol of their inherent, yet rarely flaunted, connection to the highest echelons of professional sports. They rarely used it to bypass lines or demand special treatment, preferring to experience games like regular fans when possible, savoring the pure joy of the sport. This sleek card, however, was a subtle seed of mystery, hinting at their father's true power and their deep, almost inherent connection to the team and the league itself, a powerful secret waiting for the right moment to be revealed. Even with the shield of their family's immense influence and their privileged access, Amara and Nia had, in their 17 years, repeatedly encountered the subtle, insidious tendrils of societal bias, seeds of future conflict that pricked at their quiet composure. Once, at a high-end restaurant where their father had made reservations, they found themselves subtly ushered to a less desirable table by a seemingly polite hostess, only to watch as a white family, arriving minutes later without a reservation, was immediately given a prime booth. Another time, at a previous game, they overheard a security guard dismissively assume they were players' girlfriends, trying to sneak into a restricted area, despite their perfectly valid, high-level passes, an assumption he wouldn't have made about their white counterparts. They had also recently seen a news report discussing a prominent sports organization facing scrutiny for its lack of diversity in executive ranks and subtle biases in fan interactions. A stark reminder that prejudice permeated even the seemingly meritocratic world of professional sports. These were small, seemingly innocuous instances, but they accumulated, a quiet pressure building. They solidified Amara and Nia's understanding that despite their intelligence, their impeccable manners, and their family's standing, their identity as young black women carried an invisible weight, a potential for unfair scrutiny. The quiet before the storm was about to give way to a very personal tempest, one that would force them to confront these biases head-on. The air inside the arena was a living entity, thick with the electric anticipation of a playoff game. The roar of the crowd, a visceral wave of sound, vibrated through the floor and up into the very bones of the building. For Amara and Nia, this was more than just a game. It was a ritual, a connection to the pulse of their city and the sport they adored. They arrived, as was their habit, a bit early, wanting to soak in the pre-game energy, to watch the players warm up, their movements a hypnotic dance of power and precision. They were dressed stylishly but comfortably, their outfits chosen for the game: designer sneakers, tailored track pants, and custom team jerseys that subtly spoke of their insider status. They walked with a quiet confidence, blending into the early crowd heading for the prime seats. Their destination was the very best in the house. Front row, center court, so close to the action they could hear the squeak of sneakers and the sharp smack of the ball. These were their designated prime VIP seats, a privilege reserved only for the highest echelons of the team's inner circle. They settled in, Amara pulling out a small notebook to jot down observations on the warm-ups, Nia simply absorbing the energy, a serene smile on her face. They were in their element, part of the game's silent, unseen machinery. Moving through the exclusive VIP section with an air of practiced authority was Mr. Harrison, the veteran stadium manager. In his late 50s, Mr. Harrison was outwardly polished, his suit impeccably pressed, his demeanor professional to a fault. He adhered to protocol with a rigid, almost zealous devotion, which often masked a slightly condescending air when dealing with what he perceived as lesser patrons. Beneath his composed exterior, he harbored deep-seated resentments about perceived changes in the league's old guard, changes that, to his mind, seemed to dilute the exclusivity he cherished. He had a distinct tendency to profile individuals based on appearance and his own preconceived notions about who belonged where. As he scanned the VIP section, His eyes lingered on Amara and Nia. Young black girls in these seats? His internal monologue sneered. Must be a mistake, or perhaps someone's trying to sneak in. They certainly don't look like they belong here. He saw them as an anomaly, an unwelcome challenge to his meticulously ordered, racially stratified hierarchy of VIPs. The incident began subtly, almost innocuously, a few minutes before tip-off. A wealthy, older white couple, ostentatiously dressed and looking flustered, approached the twin seats. "Excuse me," the woman said, her voice sharp with entitlement. "These are our seats. We were promised these specific spots by a very high-level contact. You two must be mistaken." The man beside her grunted in agreement, looking down his nose at the twins. They held tickets for a different, albeit still good section, but their sense of perceived entitlement made them blind to any other reality. It was a classic case of entitled privilege clashing with actual, legitimate access. Mr. Harrison, alerted by the commotion, arrived, a faint scowl already on his face. He listened to the white couple's agitated complaints, his expression sympathetic. Without bothering to verify tickets or credentials properly, and fueled by his pre-existing bias against the young black women in the wrong seats, he immediately sided with the white couple. He turned to Amara and Nia, his voice dripping with condescension, carrying an implicit threat that made the surrounding fans prick up their ears. "Excuse me, young ladies," he began, his tone cold and dismissive. "There seems to be a misunderstanding. These seats are reserved for our most esteemed guests." He gestured vaguely at the white couple. "I'm afraid you'll have to move to the upper deck. I'm sure you'll have a perfectly good view from there." He dismissed their quiet protests, implying they were imposters or less important, ignoring the unique black VIP passes that Nia had instinctively clutched in her hand. "Don't make a scene," he added, his voice lowering, but with an unmistakable edge. "Just move, please." This was a blatant act of discrimination, stemming directly from his deeply ingrained bias. Amara and Nia, initially bewildered by the unwarranted aggression, felt a flush of indignation creep up their necks. "Sir, there's no misunderstanding," Amara began, her voice steady despite the tremor of shock. "These are our seats. We have our passes." She started to pull out her sleek black VIP card. But Mr. Harrison cut her off, his patience worn thin by what he perceived as defiance. "I don't care what passes you have, young lady. You're disrupting the pre-game atmosphere. If you don't comply immediately, I will have no choice but to call security and have you removed from the arena for disruptive behavior." His threat was clear, and he immediately signaled two burly security guards nearby, who began to move towards them. This public accusation, this sudden unjust confrontation in front of a growing crowd of curious onlookers, was the point of no return. Their quiet dignity, their comfortable evening, had been shattered by blatant prejudice, forcing them to choose between humiliating compliance and fighting for their rightful place. They could not simply go back to being anonymous, privileged teens. Their presence, their very right to be there, was now on the line. The arena concourse, normally a blur of excited fans, now had a focal point, the small, tense cluster around Amara and Nia. The two burly security guards, summoned by Mr. Harrison, were closing in, their faces stern and unyielding. The older white couple stood nearby, smug and entitled, clearly expecting the twins to be unceremoniously ejected. Mr. Harrison himself radiated a stiff, self-righteous authority, his eyes narrowed at what he perceived as the girls' continued defiance. "Ladies," Mr. Harrison stated, his voice tight with impatience, "I've asked you politely. Now, with all due respect, these are high-value seats, and this couple has a claim. If you cannot produce valid, verifiable credentials that match these specific seats, then you must relocate. Do not make this difficult." He emphasized verifiable, implying their passes were dubious. Amara, though her heart hammered against her ribs, stood firm. Nia, clutching her black VIP pass, met Mr. Harrison's gaze with quiet resolve. "Sir, there's no misunderstanding here," Amara reiterated, her voice clear and surprisingly steady amidst the rising tension. "These are our seats. My sister and I have season passes for this section, given to us directly. They are absolutely valid." She gestured towards Nia's hand, where the sleek black card was visible. And as for this couple's claim, perhaps they should present their own tickets for these seats, not just a verbal assertion. Her calm, articulate demeanor and logical counter-argument were unexpected, momentarily disarming the security guards who glanced at each other, sensing an anomaly. Mr. Harrison, however, was too deeply entrenched in his prejudice and too eager to assert his authority to listen to reason. He observed the twins' calm, articulate explanation not as a sign of genuine validity, but as an attempt at manipulation, a privileged defiance from two young black women who, in his narrow worldview, simply did not belong in such exclusive seats. He scoffed, interrupting Amara repeatedly. "Girls, please. These aren't just any seats. And those passes, probably fakes, or some staff-level access you're trying to abuse. This isn't for your type. We don't want any trouble before the game, so just cooperate." His words were overtly prejudiced, laden with racist undertones, not only implying the twins were liars or gatecrashers, but actively maligning their character based on baseless stereotypes. Mr. Harrison's role as the Type B antagonist, misguided by his ingrained biases and resentment against what he perceived as an intrusion into his elite domain, was now unequivocally sealed. The white couple, emboldened by Harrison's backing, chimed in. "Just move along, girls," the man sneered. "Some people just don't know their place." Mr. Harrison, feeling his moment of triumph, turned back to the security guards, gesturing impatiently. "Escort them out, please. They're being disruptive." This was the tipping point. As the security guards took a step forward, Amara took a deep, steadying breath. This wasn't just about seats anymore. It was about dignity. Her inner conflict, the struggle between quiet compliance and asserting their rightful place, had reached its peak. She pulled out her phone, not to record, but to dial a specific, highly privileged number. "Sir," she stated, her voice clear and unwavering, cutting through the rising hum of murmurs from curious fans. "I think you need to speak to my father immediately. He made arrangements for these seats himself, and he will not be happy about this." She held the phone out, the screen displaying a prominent name in her contacts. Mr. Harrison scoffed, a sneer twisting his lips. "Oh, a phone call? To your daddy? Who is he, the mayor, the president?" He laughed dismissively, clearly thinking it was an empty threat. Just then, Naya, quieter, but with an equally steel-laced resolve, stepped forward, looking directly into Mr. Harrison's incredulous eyes. Her voice, though soft, carried an undeniable weight that silenced the nearby crowd. "He's Marcus Johnson," she said, her gaze steady. "And he owns this team. He also owns this stadium, and he's about to be very disappointed in your management." The words hung in the air, cold and precise. The black VIP pass in Naya's hand, previously a subtle seed of mystery, now connected directly to the powerful name Marcus Johnson, the team owner, the true significance of their access finally blooming into stark, undeniable reality. Mr. Harrison's smug, triumphant expression, so confidently plastered on his face moments before, instantly vanished. His eyes, initially narrow with disdain, widened in disbelief, and then, sickeningly, in profound, paralyzing horror. He knew Marcus Johnson. Everyone in professional sports did. He wasn't just a powerful figure. He was the powerful figure, the very man who controlled his livelihood, his job, his entire career. The gravity of his colossal mistake, the direct consequence of his unthinking prejudice, hit him like a physical blow. He saw the disruptive kids not as imposters, not as entitled nuisances, but as the daughters of the man who signed his paychecks, the man who owned the stadium he managed. His face went utterly ashen, the color draining from it until he looked like a ghost. The security personnel and nearby stadium staff, who had been moving in to assist Harrison, now froze. Some openly gasped. A few fans nearby covered their mouths in shock. Their initial sternness dissolved into professional deference, then visible alarm. They were now dealing with the owner's daughters, wrongly accused and publicly humiliated. Their focus shifted abruptly and dangerously from the twins to Mr. Harrison, their gazes hardening with a mixture of shock and impending doom. "Mr. Harrison," one security guard, a man who had worked at the stadium for years, whispered, his voice filled with dread. Do you know who that is?" He gestured towards the name on Amara's phone screen, which was still glowing, awaiting a connection. The power dynamic had been completely inverted. Mr. Harrison, the proud authority figure, the man who had called for their removal, was suddenly revealed as the truly vulnerable one, caught in a trap of his own making, his carefully constructed facade of superiority crumbling around him. The white couple, now utterly silent, began to inch away, trying to disappear into the swelling crowd. The arena concourse, usually a vibrant tapestry of fan excitement, had frozen into a silent, gaping arena for Mr. Harrison. The boisterous buzz of pre-game anticipation had died, replaced by a suffocating hush. Hundreds of eyes, drawn by the unusual commotion in the VIP section, were now laser-focused on him. The Jumbotron, which moments ago showed highlights, seemed to subtly reflect the scene below, amplifying his public humiliation. Every curious, then disbelieving, then disgusted gaze felt like a physical blow. His immaculate suit, once a symbol of his authority, now felt like a straitjacket, suddenly too tight, too warm. He was utterly alone in his predicament. The security guards he had summoned, now fully aware of the twins' identity, had subtly distanced themselves, their faces masks of professional neutrality that spoke volumes. His stadium staff, his colleagues, his supposed allies, all had scattered like startled birds, leaving him exposed, isolated. His carefully cultivated facade of composed authority was not just cracking, it was shattering into irreparable pieces under the immense visible pressure. "Mr. Harrison," a new voice cut through the heavy silence, sharp and authoritative. It was the team president, Mr. Sterling, who had arrived, alerted by the frantic calls from his staff. His face was a thundercloud. He looked from the stone-faced twins to the utterly bewildered white couple, then finally settled his gaze, cold and unwavering, on Mr. Harrison. "What precisely is going on here? The game's delayed, the fans are restless, and I'm getting calls from the league office. Explain this situation and explain it now." The mention of the league office sent a fresh wave of panic through Mr. Harrison. The game clock on the Jumbotron, which had been counting down to tip-off, now stubbornly displayed delayed, a relentless ticking clock that mocked his every faltering breath. He could feel the eyes of every fan in the nearby sections, their murmurs growing louder, demanding an explanation for the unexpected halt to their evening's entertainment. This external pressure, combined with Mr. Sterling's icy stare, tightened the noose around Mr. Harrison's neck. He knew that thousands of dollars in revenue were being lost with every passing minute of delay, all because of his misguided actions. "Mr. Sterling, sir, it was a misunderstanding," Mr. Harrison stammered, his voice thin and reedy, a stark contrast to his earlier imperious tone. He wiped a bead of sweat from his brow, his hand visibly trembling. "This couple, they claimed these seats, and these young ladies, they didn't seem to have the proper credentials. My duty, you understand, to prevent unauthorized access. It was an honest mistake, an overabundance of caution, nothing more." He tried to frame it as a procedural error, a diligent manager simply doing his job, but his forced, desperate sincerity was transparent. He subtly tried to shift blame to the white couple for causing the confusion, hoping to deflect. His eyes darted around, avoiding Mr. Sterling's piercing gaze, avoiding the unwavering stares of Amara and Nia. This was his hang-by-a-single-hair moment. His entire career, built painstakingly over decades in the sports world, was dangling precariously, dependent on his ability to spin this catastrophic error. He was visibly sweating, stammering, struggling to find words that would salvage his ruin, a pathetic performance that only highlighted his true prejudiced character. The white couple, now utterly silent and embarrassed, tried to shrink into the background, horrified by the spectacle they had unwittingly caused. Amara and Nia, meanwhile, stood quietly by their seats, a picture of dignity amidst the unfolding disaster. They didn't interrupt Mr. Harrison's pathetic attempts at self-preservation. They didn't gloat. Their intelligent eyes simply observed his crumbling composure, the complete unraveling of a man consumed by his own bias. Their quiet strength radiated through the concourse, their composure making Mr. Harrison's discomfort even more acute, a silent testament to the unjust accusation they had faced. The contrast between the flustered, prejudiced stadium manager and the composed, accused teenagers was stark, a powerful tableau that etched itself into the minds of every witness in the arena. The stage was set for the final devastating fall. The arena concourse had fallen into a heavy silence, every eye now fixed on Mr. Harrison. His face, once a mask of rigid authority, was now a portrait of desperate terror. His carefully constructed world, built on decades of rigid rules and perceived importance, was crumbling before the very fans he was supposed to serve. Mr. Sterling, the team president, stood before him, his arms crossed, his expression a chilling blend of disappointment and firm authority. The security guards Harrison had summoned, now fully aware of the twins' identity, maintained a wide berth, their presence a silent, unwavering testament to Amara and Naya's rightful place and Mr. Harrison's profound error. The entitled white couple, having shrunk into the background, looked utterly mortified. Mr. Harrison knew, with a sickening certainty, that his career, his very identity within the world of professional sports management, was about to be obliterated. In a last, desperate, self-serving plea, he turned to Mr. Sterling, his voice a reedy whisper, barely audible above the distant hum of the arena. "Mr. Sterling, sir, please. It was a miscommunication. A moment of stress, perhaps. I was merely being vigilant, ensuring proper access control. The young ladies, they didn't have the standard tickets for these seats. As stadium manager, my responsibility is to enforce regulations and protect the integrity of our VIP areas. I simply misread the situation. It was an overabundance of caution, nothing more. I assure you, I am not prejudiced. I simply followed protocol, sir." He tried to explain away his actions as an excess of professional duty, rather than admitting his profound prejudice. He subtly tried to shift blame to the white couple for causing the confusion, hoping to deflect. He was clinging to the last vestiges of his pride, hoping to escape the crushing consequences of his bigotry in this agonizing moment of nin tho. Mr. Sterling's eyes, sharp and unwavering, narrowed further. He had seen through such flimsy excuses countless times in his long career. He cast a brief, knowing glance at the security team, then at Amara and Nia, who remained still, observing Mr. Harrison's pathetic struggle with quiet dignity. Then Mr. Sterling turned back to Mr. Harrison, his voice cutting through the hushed concourse like a razor. "Mr. Harrison," he began, his tone devoid of emotion, each word a hammer blow, "your vigilance has resulted in the public humiliation and false accusation of two of our most valued guests. Furthermore, those guests are Amara and Nia Johnson, the daughters of Marcus Johnson, the owner of this team and of this very arena." The name hung in the air, a final, definitive death knell for Mr. Harrison's career. His face drained completely of color. He visibly flinched, as if struck by an invisible blow. Mr. Sterling didn't stop there. "Effective immediately," he announced, his voice ringing with absolute authority. "You are removed from your position as stadium manager and placed on immediate administrative leave, pending a full investigation by the league office. Your access to this facility is revoked. Any further attempts to justify your discriminatory behavior will result in immediate termination and potential legal action, not just from the team, but from the Johnson family directly." Mr. Harrison stood utterly defeated, his proud shoulders slumping, his head bowed in bitter shame. His public shaming was absolute and immediate, his authority completely stripped away for all to witness. He was a humiliated figure, his carefully constructed world collapsing around him, a direct consequence of his deep-seated prejudice. His downfall was swift and commensurate with his villainy. He raised his head briefly, his eyes wide with dawning despair, a flicker of resentment burning in their depths as he looked at Amara and Nia before finally being led away by a visibly uncomfortable security guard. The white couple, realizing their complicity, were also discreetly but firmly escorted away, their entitlement crumbling into complete humiliation. Amara and Nia, despite the intense emotional pressure and the raw display of prejudice they had just endured, maintained their composure. They felt a surge of relief, a deep exhale they hadn't realized they were holding, but no desire to gloat. They looked at the now empty space where Mr. Harrison had stood, then at the vast concourse, and then down at the gleaming basketball court. Amara's voice, though quiet, carried an unexpected resonance, a testament to her unshakable passion. We just love this game so much," she said, not to anyone specific, but to the air around them. The strategy, the athleticism, the way it brings people together. Naya added, her voice equally firm, "We want everyone to feel that connection, that they belong here, no matter what." Their simple statement, so full of pure, undiluted passion, subtly highlighted the cruel irony of Mr. Harrison's actions. A man who ran the stadium, yet sought to exclude its most loyal and connected fans. Their quiet dignity and unwavering passion made their victory even more profound, a testament to the unquenchable flame within them. Just as the climax reached its emotional peak, a commanding presence approached the VIP section. It was Mr. Johnson, the twins' father. He was impeccably dressed, his suit perfectly tailored, his composure radiating an almost palpable authority that silenced the remaining murmurs in the concourse. His eyes, though assessing the scene with professional calm, held a quiet, simmering fury that Mr. Harrison, had he still been present, would have undoubtedly felt. He didn't yell or create a scene. His mere presence, and his quiet, firm words to Mr. Sterling, carried immense weight. He went directly to his daughters, his face softening with immense love and concern. He pulled them into a firm, reassuring embrace, a gesture of profound love and unwavering support that solidified their vindication. His demeanor conveyed his immense power without him needing to explicitly state his title. Onlookers who had initially been merely curious or annoyed by the delay now fully grasped the magnitude of the injustice that had occurred. Their faces shifted from curiosity to dawning understanding, then outrage at Mr. Harrison's clear prejudice, and finally, admiration for the twins' quiet resilience and a palpable satisfaction at Mr. Harrison's well-deserved downfall. Whispers of, "That's Marcus Johnson, the owner," rippled through the stands near the VIP section, making Mr. Harrison's humiliation complete, his once esteemed name now a symbol of disgrace. This collective recognition of injustice and the twins' quiet, dignified vindication provided a powerful, cathartic release. The arena, once a stage for prejudice, was now a testament to truth and dignity. The electric energy of the arena slowly shifted, the palpable tension of the confrontation giving way to a more subdued, yet deeply significant atmosphere. Mr. Harrison, his face still a ghastly mask of bitter resentment and dawning despair, was swiftly escorted from the stadium by discreet security personnel. His immediate administrative leave was a mere formality, a bureaucratic prelude to the inevitable end of his career. The team and the league, acutely aware of the public nature of the incident and the immense quiet pressure emanating from their owner, acted with unprecedented speed. Within hours, a comprehensive and uncompromising public apology was issued, disseminated across all official channels. The statement condemned Mr. Harrison's discriminatory actions in the strongest possible terms, reaffirming the organization's unwavering commitment to diversity and inclusion at every level of fan interaction and internal operation. Mr. Harrison was subsequently terminated from his position, his decades-long career and once unblemished reputation irrevocably shattered. His name became a cautionary tale whispered in the hallowed halls of professional sports management, a stark reminder that prejudice, when exposed, would lead to an unceremonious downfall. For Amara and Nia, the immediate aftermath was a complex blend of profound relief, quiet vindication, and an unexpected surge of opportunity. Mr. Johnson, their father, remained their steadfast pillar of support. His presence radiated a quiet strength, his composure a constant reassurance amidst the lingering echoes of the injustice. Deeply proud of his daughter's unwavering dignity and unwavering commitment to truth in the face of such a baseless accusation, he ensured that the painful incident would only serve to fortify their resolve and significantly broaden their horizons within the very industry they so passionately adored. Mr. Johnson, leveraging his immense influence, moved not for retribution, but for profound, meaningful change. He swiftly arranged for Amara and Nia to spend their entire summer interning directly with the team's highly coveted analytics department. This wasn't a superficial placement. It was an unparalleled, hands-on opportunity, granting them deep, immersive insight into the complex professional operations they loved. They spent countless hours dissecting game footage, analyzing player performance metrics, and contributing to strategic draft considerations, proving their mettle far beyond the confines of their family name. Furthermore, Mr. Johnson personally connected them with a high-profile sports diversity initiative, nurturing their nascent leadership and amplifying their burgeoning desire to promote equity and inclusion throughout the entire landscape of professional sports. The team also issued an additional, heartfelt public statement, specifically acknowledging the twins' remarkable composure and strength throughout the ordeal. This reinforced the team's commitment to creating an inclusive environment and effectively set a new, higher standard for fan interaction, sending a clear message across the league. A few days later, the quiet calm of the Johnson family home enveloped Amara and Nia. The incident at the arena, though still a raw memory, now felt like a distant, impactful storm, its powerful lessons deeply absorbed. The twins sat together in their shared room, surrounded by the familiar comfort of their sports memorabilia and analytical notes. Nia picked up the signed basketball, its worn leather a tangible link to their shared passion, and gently spun it in her hands. Mr. Johnson entered, a sense of peace about him, watching his daughters with a proud, knowing smile. He sat on the edge of Amara's bed, his gaze thoughtful. "You know, girls," Mr. Johnson began, his voice soft, yet resonating with profound pride. "That day, that man's prejudice tried to dim your light. He tried to tell you where you didn't belong, right there, in a place that's as much yours as anyone else's. But you didn't let him. You stood tall, you spoke your truth with such clarity, and you shone brighter than any negativity he could throw. Never forget that, and never, ever let anyone tell you where you don't belong, especially not in a game you know so intimately, a game you're destined to help shape." Amara looked at Nia, then back at her father, her intelligent eyes reflecting a newfound depth, a quiet wisdom beyond her years. The experience had undeniably forged something powerful within them, a steely resolve tempered by the injustice they had faced. "It wasn't just about us, Dad," Amara replied, her voice quiet but firm. "It was about all the fans, all the kids who get looked at wrong, who are made to feel like they don't belong, just because of how someone else sees them." Nia nodded, her gaze fixed on the signed basketball. "We had to stand up, not just for ourselves, but for what's right, for what this game is supposed to be about, bringing people together, not pushing them away." This poignant conversation solidified their shared values, their changed perspectives, and the profound lessons learned. It wasn't merely about two teenagers being vindicated. It was about confronting prejudice with unwavering dignity, transforming a moment of injustice into a powerful catalyst for systemic, lasting change within the very fabric of their beloved sport. The new calm was not just a return to peace, but a strong, clear foundation for a future built on purpose, empathy, and a profound commitment to equity for all who dared to dream on and off the court. 10 years later, the names Amara and Nia Johnson resonated not just through the hallowed halls of their family's professional basketball team, but throughout the entire landscape of Major League sports. They were no longer simply the intelligent teenagers who had faced prejudice. They were dynamic, highly influential executives, twin forces reshaping the industry from within. Amara, with her incisive analytical mind, had risen to become the groundbreaking analytics director for a prominent basketball league, pioneering innovative strategies that reshaped team play and player valuation across the sport. Nia, driven by her deep empathy and unwavering sense of justice, was a passionate and powerful advocate for diversity and inclusion within the league, ensuring equitable fan experiences, expanding access for marginalized communities, and creating opportunities where none had existed before. Their lives were vibrant, purposeful, and profoundly fulfilling, steeped in the joyous work of shaping an industry they deeply loved, making it more just and accessible for all. They represented the new guard, leading with integrity, innovation, and an unwavering commitment to equity. True to their core belief that respect wasn't about status but about seeing people for who they truly were, Amara and Nia actively used their positions to pay it forward. Together, they established and personally championed a joint foundation, aptly named Courtside Champions. This foundation provided comprehensive scholarships and robust mentorships for underprivileged youth, guiding them toward fulfilling careers in sports management, analytics, journalism, and even athletic development. They didn't just fund, they personally mentored, ensuring that talent from overlooked communities had the crucial support and pathways to success that might otherwise have been denied. They frequently co-hosted influential workshops on implicit bias within sports, addressing the very prejudices they had encountered head-on. These weren't mere initiatives, they were systemic changes that profoundly altered the league's internal culture and its outward-facing community engagement. Mr. Johnson, now a revered elder statesman of the league, often made proud appearances at their foundation events, his eyes gleaming with profound satisfaction, witnessing his daughter's powerful legacy unfold. Their shared commitment formed an unstoppable force for industry-wide transformation, extending far beyond the confines of their own team. The story, in its truest sense, found its culmination not just in executive offices, but at the very heart of the arena they now helped to run. One bright, bustling playoff evening, Amara and Nia stood together in the now rebranded VIP seats, the very seats where the ignominious incident had occurred a decade prior. They were impeccably dressed, their presence commanding yet approachable integral parts of the league's vibrant fabric. They glanced at each other, a shared, knowing smile passing between them, a silent acknowledgement of their long and impactful journey. Amara subtly touched the sleek new version of her black VIP pass, now a symbol not of hidden privilege, but of earned respect and their power to champion enduring change. Below them, the arena roared with the excited anticipation of tip-off, a sound of triumph, not just for the game about to begin on the court, but for the inclusive future they had helped build. Nia watched as a diverse flight crew for the team's private jet, pilots, athletic trainers, and support staff of all backgrounds, walked past, exchanging genuine smiles and nods of mutual respect with her. She saw young fans, diverse and unburdened, excitedly rushing to their seats, their faces full of pure joy. Amara and Nia stood there, not just as executives, but as trailblazers, living testaments to the power of resilience and profound symbols that true leadership stemmed from both immense influence and an even deeper, more profound empathy. The arena, once a stage for prejudice, was now an open, inclusive canvas where every fan, every aspiring professional truly belonged, their dreams taking flight alongside the roaring crowd. If this story stirred your heart and reminds you that courage can alter destinies and that light always finds a path even in the deepest darkness, please leave a comment. Share this story with those who need inspiration. Like, subscribe, and hit the bell to never miss upcoming narratives that delve into the profound human spirit and the power of unseen heroes. Thank you for joining the journey.